So do y'all remember when Hunter Biden stood up and walked out on Marjorie Taylor Greene when she started to talk? I remember when that happened, I turned to my mom and I said, you know what? Hunter Biden is the one guy that I want to hear from. That's the one guy that I really hope we get to hear talk one day, because no one has been dragged harder than Hunter Biden and the Biden family. Hunter Biden's personal life has been put on display for the world to see, and he's been dragged. His drug addiction has been mocked and made fun of by people who claims to be Christians and claims to be conservative. People you would think would reach out and help people, but no. When it comes to Hunter Biden, they had no forgiveness, no mercy, and they just dragged him relentlessly. And I said to myself, when he stood up and walked out, I thought, he's dying to say a whole lot more about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I would love to hear him talk. Well, now he's talking. He sat down for an interview, and a lot of times we'll say this person sat down and went scorched earth, but I don't know if scorched earth really does it justice. I will just say that he took the gloves off, and I'm so glad to see it. This interview was absolutely priceless, and I hope we see more. I myself would love to talk to Hunter Biden if I could talk to anybody, because he speaks a language that people like us understands. Now, this interview, I will go ahead and warn you, does have quite a few F-bombs. So many that when I first seen it, I thought maybe it was AI just for a second, because I was like, wait a minute, has somebody like twisted this around? Because it was kind of like, whoa, this guy is really cutting loose. Is this for real? It is for real. And, the language might offend a lot of people, but folks, if you had been dragged and your family and your dad had been put through what Joe Biden and Hunter Biden has been through, you're just going to have to fucking get over it. So here we go. We're going to play some of this interview and break it down as we go. But, scorched earth don't do it justice, but take a look.
Like, I think of that poor guy that they said was a gang member because he had a tattoo on his arm that was a makeup artist. And they say he's MS-13. He literally a makeup artist that fled, I think, I'm making it up, Venezuela, because of a dictator, and came to the United States and sought asylum, received asylum, and they literally take this poor guy and they pick him up, and he has a family, and he has friends, and he has an entire community, and they give him no due process, and they put him on a plane with maybe a bunch of other criminals and send him to that fucking hellscape. He's dead, and nobody gives a shit. And I mean it. Like, we sit here and we talk about the one guy because there's a clear legal path to being able to get him back. What about all those other people? Am I not supposed to feel for someone? Am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration? Fuck you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your fucking table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your fucking garden? Who do you think is here by the fucking sheer fucking just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance. And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the fucking criminals? White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a fucking violent crime than an immigrant. And the media says, well, you got David Axelrod and, Rahm fucking Emanuel. So fucking smart, Rahm Emanuel. And said, we got to understand that these people are really mad. And we got to appeal to these white voters. Rahm, the only people that fucking appealed to those fucking white voters was Joe Biden, 81 years old. And he got 81 million votes, and he did not because he appeased their fucking Trumpian sense, but because he challenged it.
You know, folks, if you could be a fly on the wall when me and my buddies are just sitting around having a beer, that's exactly how we sound. That's exactly how we talk, and that's the exact kind of points we're making. We're so tired of people telling us that we have to say, oh, these people are mad about this, and so we have to appeal to them. No, that's not who we are. We have to stand up for people, and we have to stand up for due process. We have to stand up for the Constitution, because we have a president who is absolutely shredding all of it. And we have a president, you have to remember, who is a convicted felon. And when they use the phrase Biden crime family, I always cracked up at that. I literally always laughed out loud anytime they said that. I was like, really, Biden crime family? You're actually going to put those words together? No, if there ever was a crime family, if you ever were watching a mob movie, you're watching it with the Trump administration and his family, and I'm so glad to see that Hunter Biden laid into them. Take a look.
These motherfuckers?
With Trump Mobile, we're going to be introducing an entire package of products.
They're selling gold telephones and sneakers and $2 billion investments in golf courses and selling tickets to the White House for investment into their meme coin.
Overnight, President Trump returning to the White House after a black tie gala for the biggest buyers of the Trump crypto coin.
The Qataris give him a jet, and the Emiratis put $2 billion into their cryptocurrency, and the Saudis are going to build a tower. And I mean, and by the way, that's just what we see. And I even hate mentioning my name in that because either I am the biggest fucking moron on the face of the earth or like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, what is Fox News talking about? Anybody that mentions my name in Crime Family in the same, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, if you believe the worst possible thing that they've ever said about me, what they are openly doing, they're openly doing. And nobody's batting an eye. Don Jr. is opening a club called the Executive Club in Georgetown, in which it is promised that you will be able to rub shoulders at the cost of a $500,000 initiation fee.
The $500,000 membership fee would make it the most expensive private membership club in the country after Mar-a-Lago.
To join the club with people and decision makers in the cabinet of his father.
Now, the launch party on Saturday night included a who's who from the Trump cabinet with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Attorney General Pam Bondi, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, Dr. Oz, and a lot of others.
What is that other than literally the sale of influence? And by the way, that's just like a side thing for them. I don't get why people don't understand that it is the biggest grift that there is. And just look over here. Look at Hunter Biden, the crack addict. Look at him. Laptop.
You know, I got to be dead honest with you, folks. Anytime someone says something like, well, what about Hunter Biden's laptop? I pretty much just tune out right there. I don't really care what they say next because I know that they're just distracted with Hunter Biden's laptop and they're not looking at what's happening right in front of their faces. And it's so ridiculous to me when they'll say, well, Trump loves his country so much he could be on a yacht somewhere just enjoying life. And he does this because he loves his country and he don't even take a salary. I'm like, the dude is raking in billions. He's doing it right in front of your face. They made Jimmy Carter give up his peanut farm. But yet this guy is selling you everything under the sun, doing it right in front of your face, and then telling you, oh yeah, just look over here at Hunter Biden's laptop. They have dragged Hunter Biden for years while they did way worse right out in the open. They did it right in front of everyone's faces, and people are okay with that. They'll sit back and go, oh, the Trump family's smart. Trump's smart because he didn't pay his taxes. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not only have they dragged Hunter Biden, they definitely dragged Joe Biden even harder. They dragged him and held every word. I've always said they held him under a microscope. Every word he said got criticized. Every word he didn't say got criticized. Every word that he hesitated to speak got criticized. Every step he made got criticized. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I love what Hunter says and the analogy he brings here, the comparison of, imagine if my dad had done what Trump did here. Take a look.
The other day when Donald Trump pointed to the Declaration of Independence and said, you know, I'm against war. I think we could have saved 600,000 lives in the Civil War.
You look right up there. I don't know. See the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War. It always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people.
As if there's a connection between the Declaration of Independence and the Civil War. But can you imagine my dad did that? Can you imagine if he opened up that treaty with the Prime Minister Starmer at the G7 in Canada and all the pages fell out and then he said that he just signed a treaty with the European Union with the Prime Minister of the UK standing next to him? Can you imagine? And then if he got on a plane and said the reason that he was going home early from the G7 is because he had a major announcement the next day, and then the next day he put up a flagpole? Can you imagine any of those things?
So you're saying...
Where the fuck is Jake Tapper?
Yeah, so where is Jake Tapper? I mean, why isn't he pouncing on Donald Trump, and why doesn't the mainstream media pounce on every misstep and every gaffe that Donald Trump has? I played the clip before here on the channel, but y'all remember back when Joe Rogan was thinking that Joe Biden is the one that said that about there being airports during the Revolutionary War, and Joe Rogan sitting there and he's laughing and he's like, yeah, did you see where Biden said that there were planes in the Revolutionary War? Man, if you said that, your career would be over. And then Jamie ends up pulling it up and like, actually, Joe, it was Trump that said that. And he's like, oh yeah, well, he fucked up. Everybody makes mistakes. They will find a way to give Trump an excuse for anything he does. And meanwhile, they set and held Joe Biden under such a microscope. And it's absolutely ridiculous because, yes, Joe Biden was a man who was aging right before our eyes. And I'm really glad that Hunter says this in this next clip, talks about how are we going to be going forward and how are we going to react to people getting old? How are we going to act to people who are aging before our eyes? This is a great point.
Kind of see him dropping out of the race. Did you see that coming?
No. I was I thought that we had cleared all the hurdles that they had set up for us. And so, if you remember, it was a horrible debate, and there's no arguing that it was anything but an absolutely horrible debate. And I think it scared the shit out of a lot of people because they were already concerned about his age. But as I say about everybody, the thing that we're going to have to grapple with as a society that's bigger than Joe Biden is this: how we handle people that age in front of our eyes. And recognize that they may have lost a physical step, but that does not mean they don't have the mental capacity to continue to do their job, and whether there still should be to be valued. So my dad grew old in front of everybody's eyes, and the difference between whether or not you thought that he was politically viable based upon your own biases, or whether you thought that he was politically capable based upon his accomplishments. Just remember, Joe Biden got 81 million votes. And it wasn't because of Donald Trump that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. Joe Biden got more votes than anybody that's ever run for president in the United States before.
You know, I really do believe that everyone needs to just stop and think for a minute. Think about your mom, think about your dad, think about your grandparents, think about how they aged, and think about how that you talked about that amongst your family. And maybe it got talked about around your little small town. Maybe it got talked about in your community. Joe Biden grew old in front of the entire world, and he was growing old and leading us through one of the darkest eras in American history. He did bring us out of the pandemic when they said that he couldn't. He turned this country around. He accomplished more in 4 years than most presidents had accomplished in 8. And I can't imagine what it would be like to be his son and be getting dragged constantly for my past addiction, having my personal life just put on full display, becoming the boogeyman for the party and putting this Biden crime family, myth that they created, and then watching my dad at the same time be dragged for growing old. So, you know what? My bandana goes off to Hunter Biden because the guy has been through a lot in his lifetime, and I'm glad to see him out talking, and I hope he talks more. I hope we hear more from him. I saw someone on Twitter going, I wish he would shut up. I'm like, no. No, he's the one I've been wanting to hear talk for a long time. I'm glad he's talking. I hope he continues to talk because that frustration and anger that you hear a lot of times in his voice, that's how a lot of us feels these days. And I can't imagine how he would feel coming from where he came from, but we feel that frustration. We feel that frustration as we sit and watch a mobster as the president. We sit and watch him break the law, and we sit and watch him just make a mockery of our Constitution right in front of our faces. And we try to point to it every day. That's the thing. We're just average people just sitting here. I barely graduated from a poor high school in Southeast Kentucky, okay? I'm not a genius, but I'm just sitting here going, hey, look, the country's burning down. Hey, look at what this dude's doing. And meanwhile, everybody's like, Sleepy Joe, no drama, Obama, all this ridiculous stuff. They say that because they want to create ratings. And that's all the Republican Party is. They're ratings. But they're also a very dangerous ideology. And they're one that we're so sick and tired of seeing have control. And so I applaud Hunter Biden for that interview. I hope we see more of it. And if anybody out there says, well, he shouldn't use language like that, walk a mile in his shoes and see how the fuck you feel about it. That's all I would say about it. I wouldn't expect him to sit there and be nice. If he did, I'd probably be going, well, I respect the fact that he was nice, but damn, if I was him, I'd have said, fuck you. I'm glad he got to say fuck you. It's good. Good for him. Good on him for saying it. And I hope we hear more from him. I'd love to sit and talk with him. That's the type of person I want to sit and talk with. I don't want to sit and talk with someone pointing at a chart. I don't want to sit and talk with someone, sitting there just, giving everything watered down, typical politician answers. I want to talk to someone who's lived it, who's been there, and been through it. And Hunter Biden definitely has. So I'm glad he's talking, and I sure hope we hear a lot more from him. Folks, I appreciate your support so much here on the channel. We're closing in on 800,000 subscribers. We're headed toward 1 million, so if you get a chance, you like the kind of content we're doing, be sure and hit that subscribe button. If you ever want to take a break from the politics and do something a little different with me, I've been going over on Patreon, and I've been putting more non-political content over there just to take a break from all this madness. So later today, I'm going to be talking and doing a video on my Mount Rushmore of Ozzy Osbourne albums because we lost the Prince of Darkness. He was one of my favorites as a kid and always has been. So it's been a rough couple of days. It really has, because the political stuff weighs heavy on you, and then you lose a childhood hero. It really sucks. So I'm going to be talking more about that over there. And again, I appreciate all of your support here on the channel, and good on Hunter Biden, man. I'm glad he finally got to lay into them motherfuckers.